Thank you, Last Caller. Minister, I have had this topical issue on 4 times in the last 3 weeks, and we've been trying to get your attention and trying to get to talk to you, and you haven't acknowledged it, or you haven't turned up here to talk to us until today. And I welcome you that you're here today. At least you've come to listen to us. And first up, before I start off, I congratulate you in the new portfolio that you have, Minister. And I wish you and your family very well in this portfolio that you have. But getting down to business, flooding. People around Limerick, in Ireland, are being flooded in places that are not floodplains. Why is that? Maintenance. Why haven't we got maintenance? Because you've only got seasonal workers that you take on at a certain time of the year, and they're only there for a season. Recently, I was in Kilmallock, where my constituency office is, and we had a flooding issue. And I don't know you were there yourself, but you were actually in Cork the time it actually happened. You had to go to Skibbereen. Again, when they gave a red warning, a culvert couldn't be opened, so the main street in Skibbereen got flooded. Again, a simple maintenance issue that could have been avoided, and people's premises got flooded. But in Kilmallock, we've had houses that were flooded that are not in a floodplain. Who is responsible? Is it the OPW? Is it the county councils? Because there has been no maintenance done. And a couple of days later, we had another high wave of rain, and areas that had been flooded already, again in non-flood areas, the gullies or the drains had not been cleaned out. I'm in construction all my life, and I know about construction, I know about waterways, and I'm also grew up on a farm. If you don't maintain things, you have problems. Diggers were sent in by the OPW into the Kilmallock area, and they had one driver. A 4-ton digger was dropped on the Charleville-Kilmallock Road, done a small bit of maintenance on a bridge, which later we found out from Cian O'Connell that that bridge is not the right bridge in the first place. On his map it was shown as an arch bridge. And what is there? 2 3-foot-6 pipes. And he said it's the wrong bridge. This bridge was put in 1984 and has never been maintained, only maintained by the people that live adjacent to it to stop their house from being flooded. The River Luba in Kilmallock hasn't been dredged in 15 years. And that person that's living on the bridge off our street in Kilmallock got flooded twice within a week. And he sent down Derek Higgins to look at it. And he told us there was no problems, that the eye in the bridge wasn't a problem. And yet when we sent him photographs of it, it became a problem. Our biggest problem, Minister, and I'm hoping, because you're a Limerick man, and I hope you can deliver this, and I'm not making this personal. My job here is to make sure I point out the issues to you, and you get them done. And you make sure the OPW get on the proper staff that they need, and that you take control of the OPW and you make them put the proper staff. And we need maintenance all year round. 11,000 kilometres of waterway is what you're responsible for. Thank you.
Thanks, Les Councillor. Well, first of all, I'm nearly 5 years a minister, and I've never refused to come into the House to be held accountable to the House on anything. Topical issues are selected by the Councillor. I don't select them. And any member of the House that wants to come to me on anything, Deputy McGrath just came over to me there and asked me something. I'm surprised, Deputy, to be quite honest about it, that you'd start your comments like that. But anyway, I'd like to thank you for raising the important matter. And at this time of the year, as we approach the winter season, it is opportune that we consider our preparedness as a country to respond to severe weather events such as flooding. I'm acutely aware of the impact that the recent flooding has had on individual households and communities across the country. And since taking up my current position, I visited a number of areas that have been affected by recent storms, including Kinmare, the Kilmallock area, Clifton, Dunmanway, Skibbereen, Bantry, Bandon, Rosscarbery and Connaught. And can I say, last County Corla as well, and I put it on the record of it all, I want to thank the Office of Public Works staff, the staff of the local authorities, your own county included, last County Corla, the fire service and others who have assisted. The Government's framework for major emergency management underpins coordination to respond to all emergencies in the country. Throughout that framework, the Department of Housing, Local Government and Heritage is the lead government department with national responsibility for coordinating the response to severe weather emergencies, including flooding. Local authorities are designated as the lead agencies for response to flooding events. It's not the Office of Public Works within their administrative areas, and for ensuring that the effective arrangements are put in place to receive and respond to public weather warnings issued by Met Éireann. I want to recognise the proactive planning of the local authorities, in this case Limerick City and County Council, in putting in place temporary flood defences and putting response staff on standby in preparation for these weather events. Their planning and rapid response to flood events help to mitigate the damage and devastation that could have been caused. Each local area has its own individual plan in the event of a flooding event. And Garda Síochána, Civil Defence and the HSE are also involved, and I want to thank them as well. In relation to the arterial drainage maintenance, the Office of Public Works carries out a programme of maintenance for 11,500 kilometres of river channels and approximately 730 kilometres of embankments. Maintenance works relate to arterial drainage schemes completed by the Office of Public Works under the Acts of 1945 to 1995, and the purpose of these schemes is to mitigate flooding for agricultural use. The annual National Maintenance Programme typically involves some clearance of vegetation and removal of silt build-up, completed on an average of 5-yearly cycle each year. Work is carried out to approximately 2,000 kilometres of channel. Maintenance is continuously ongoing on a cyclical basis on the Meigh catchment drainage scheme, which includes channels in and around the areas of Kilmallock and Ballylanders. In Kilmallock, there have been works undertaken on the main channel to clear debris from bridges as recently as June 2020. There has also been rock armouring undertaken downstream of the town to address bank erosion. In Brasheen, the channel was maintained along its full length in the period June to August 2019, and I'd like to acknowledge the Office of Public Works for that. However, in the last 2 months, particular intense rainfall events have caused serious flooding in the area surrounding Kilmallock. In some of these places, we have seen unprecedented river levels and properties being flooded that were not previously flooded. The flow record was recorded on the River Luba since records began in 1985. The Office of Public Works is now engaged with Limerick City and County Council to explore what works might be feasible under the Minor Works Scheme. Limerick City and County Council has been supported through from funding under the Office of Public Works minor flood mitigation and coastal protection works in approval of over €2 million for 39 local-scale flood protection projects, providing local flooding solutions to over 440 properties across Limerick since the scheme began in 2009. I'll finish the remainder of it last County Corla after.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister. Minister, I watched the works being done in Kilmallock, and I must say, the one thing that I have to thank is the fire service in Kilmallock and all the other areas that came out where the flooding happened. Minister, a 14-ton digger was dropped off our street. It was there for a week. A driver drove it for 5 hours and left the machine there 1 week. A 4-ton digger was left out the Charvel Road for 1 week. One driver, machine's been dropped and he's been pushed all over. We need staff. We need all-round year staff. This is what I'm saying to you. Okay, we move on then and we go to Abbeyfield. And you can see in Abbeyfield where a person came out their back door a number of years ago, walked out the back door, and within 7 foot of their house, their yard was gone. The Fisheries Board would not allow a small bank of earth in the middle of a river that's 35 metres wide be moved so they could get a machine in to save their house. You were there, Minister, you called there with other councils and you called there. But the Fisheries Board stopped you from doing it. Derek Higgins has told us he cannot do any more work in Kilmallock because the Fisheries Board won't allow them to do it. Newcastle West in 2008, you've seen it yourself, got flooded. We need full-time, all year round, but you need staff. We don't need machines dropped here, there and everywhere, and one driver being told to go here for 5 hours, go there for 5 hours. I do know that you are a good person and you will try and do this, but you need to get a handle on the OPW, you need to get a handle on the staffing levels, and you need to have it there all year round. And not only the staffing levels of the OPW need to be increased, but the county councils for their maintenance of their streams, which are attached to the OPW streams, which we can see in all the maps that we've had there recently. So, Minister, It's staff you need. There's no point to have machines and one driver driving them. It's staffing all year round and maintenance. Thank you.
Well, I'd like to remind the Deputy that Newcastle West flooded in 2008, and within a short period of time a major flood relief scheme was finished by the OPW there. Cappamore also had one completed, Drumcolor had one completed. The Office of Public Works have major works going on in Limerick City to protect Kings Island. We completed works in Coona to protect Coona. Immediately after I visited Kilmallock, the OPW made sure that there was a tree and vegetation control was completed within Kilmallock. There's more going on there. There's more work going on at Brisheen South, where the channel meets the Luba. Silt and vegetation works have been done at Gotoon on the R512, which is the road to Patrick, which the Deputy will know about. And silt removal works has also taken place in Kilmallock. This has been done in consultation with the IFI, Inland Fisheries Ireland, and it is a source of frustration to us in the Office of Public Works, but we have to go through a planning process. The Deputy was a member of Limerick County Council for a period of time, so he'll know that the Office of Public Works just can't arrive into a river and act in a manner in which we might like to work in, because we have to go through a planning process. And he'll know from his own occupation as a builder, as he said earlier on, that you have to go through a process in order to do anything. And just in relation to specific personnel within the OPW, I don't think it's. I wouldn't like to. To respond to what individuals have said. But I do think it's our individual people that are not in the House that will be able to say what they said or what they didn't say. But just in relation to other parts of County Limerick, which I think it's important to point out, in Castleconnell and Tay, consultants have been appointed under the CFRAMS report. Limerick City and Environs is going forward as well, again under CFRAMS, which is a major flood risk assessment being carried out by the government, where there's over €1 billion being committed by the government. And for the remainder of the schemes in Limerick, which were announced in 2018, including Rackeel, Fines, Askeaton, Adair and Newcastle West, there's work progressing to develop each of these within the lifetime of the National Development Plan. And one area that the Deputy didn't refer to, maybe he wasn't aware of it, was the massive flooding situation in Fines, which the Office of Public Works completed very satisfactorily to everybody in Fines over the last, during the course of the last Dáil. So not everything, Lascown Corla, that the OPW does is a bad job.